So probably for the first time in like ever, this may well be the first ever actual time that we have a WWE Saturday Night main event coming up, and it for once it kind of like actually feels consequential. It actually feels like historically these have just been kind of like a little bit of a I kind of like hesitate to say like house show. I wouldn't even like kind of really say that they kind of like have a kind of like a B show quality, but they kind of like very kind of paint by numbers. They're not really, they're very kind of low risk kind of like events. And for once, this kind of like just feels really consequential. This actually feels like kind of like an actual like PLE type event. One of the big reasons for that is because we will be looking to crown a new champion after Seth Rollins timely got injured and had to vacate the title. So and all the best to him. But yeah, so before we get into all of this, I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by on this channel, which I just which I've just kind of like started up. This will just be dedicated primarily to WWE content. You will have some AEW content in here as well because and maybe there's this kind of like tribal thing. You shouldn't mix those kind of two because you're in one camp or the other. I don't subscribe to that. That's not the type of wrestling fan I am. I like wrestling, so I'm interested in what different brands are doing. Just because I like that kind of like sport, and that's it. You know what I mean? And I don't kind of like get into tribal stuff. But so yeah, basically, yeah. If you are interested in wrestling, then don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel because there will be absolutely something around here that you are going to enjoy. And like I said, just because of the way the wrestling calendar is, it's so jam-packed that there will always be regular content and we'll never be short about stuff to kind of discuss on this channel. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So so far we have 4 matches on this card. I do kind of like feel it's going to stay that way. We do have another episode of SmackDown before we get there, but it is quite rare that they kind of like announce another fresh match like the night before this thing. So so we're kind of like, I'm going to trust that this is kind of where we are. We are going to have these 4 matches, and that's kind of like where it's going to stay. Yeah, I'm going to start off with kind of like the most obvious one. We're going to then move on to the harder ones to be predictable, and also kind of like move into a territory then where we can maybe be a bit more bold with our predictions, because there's a lot of speculation here. There's a lot of different theories going around about what may happen here. So I'll kind of like get into all of that stuff as well and get into what my own thoughts are. So starting off with the most kind of what I feel is for me personally, the easiest one to call. We'll start with the women's championship match between Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton, and this was just kind of like precursed and set up after Jade Cargill had turned heel on Tiffany Stratton, which I think was absolutely the right move. I'd never kind of like really fully bought Jay Cargill as a baby face, and they just kind of like feel kind of like a heel kind of like suits her. I think it already, we can kind of like see maybe how this could kind of like revitalize her and revitalize the championship, because I feel Tiffany Stratton's had it a long time, and I don't really feel like the title reign has been kind of unmemorable, and I don't think it's Tiffany Stratton's fault. I think it's just been poor booking, and I don't think it has been there's been a real lack of kind of like real gritty blood feuds kind of like that WWE have been able to book for her. So I don't think it's been her fault. I do think it's been more about kind of like poor booking, and I feel like maybe just changing the title here, putting on a freshly healed Jade Cargo is just kind of like the way to kind of revitalize it. And also, if you've made the bold decision to kind of like turn somebody heel, then you kind of like have to kind of follow through with it. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it just kind of like, otherwise it's just kind of like a nail in the coffin. So I do think that, but also the reason why I think that having Jade Cargo is because, like I said, I think there's been a lack of blood feud for Tiffany Stratton, so I think having Jade Cargo win the title here can provide that. But also looking further afield, when Bianca Belair returns, I think if you have Bianca Belair returning, especially if it kind of like happens around the road to WrestleMania time, and you kind of have the title still on the real kind of heel Jade Cargo, but it's been built up to be a real kind of badass, which you could totally feasibly do, because you know, obviously she just has a physique that just makes her look like a superhero. So I just kind of like feel like that could be a real kind of a real kind of main event booking on the road to WrestleMania, where you could have just Bianca Belair returning and to take on this heel Jade Cargo that is kind of like being kind of like dominating the women's division in her absence. I think that could be really interesting. So yeah, I absolutely think like Jade Cargo has to win here, and I just cannot envision a world where Tiffany Stratton retains. Obviously, Tiffany Stratton has been had it for like most of the year, if not all the year. So yeah, I just feel like it's time to change, and I honestly I can't envision a world where Jade Cargo doesn't win this. So yeah, so that's my prediction there. So we're moving on to the triple threat now for the Intercontinental title between Dominic Mysterio, Penta, and Rusev. And I just feel like, again, it's maybe not quite the time to take the title off Dominic Mysterio here. I do feel like there's this sort of stuff where Dominic Mysterio has been kind of like playing Penta and Rusev off one another, so I kind of feel like that's kind of how you could envision him kind of winning, because you could just have Penta and Rusev maybe getting caught so up with each other. I do kind of feel like we are going to have a Judgment Day breakup kind of thing, but I don't think that that's necessarily the time to kind of pull the trigger on that, because I think when you're looking to do that, I think you're more looking towards like the return of Liv Morgan and that kind of stuff. So I do feel like it's, for the time being, it's good just to keep a tie on Dominic Mysterio, just because I also think he's just one of the ones that's most over with the fans as well. So now we're getting to really the difficult stuff to predict now, because where we are going to have, so we're going to have the match between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre now, and look, I kind of feel like I'm leaning towards like Cody Rhodes just retaining here. I think that's the most likely scenario. However, I do feel like I don't think that Drew McIntyre actually picking up a win here is totally out of the realms of possibility, and because I do feel the seeds, when you look at the promos that they've been cutting and stuff like that, and the feud that they've been having, you have seen these seeds where it feels like Drew McIntyre has been kind of triggering Cody Rhodes to act really kind of out of character, and just, you know, really kind of get out under his skin, and just, you know, making him, and I do feel like because they planted those seeds, I could absolutely see a world where Cody Rhodes is just kind of, you know, has Drew McIntyre get so much under his skin that he just forces him to make a mistake, and it ends up costing him the title. And I do feel like, and I kind of wonder, I don't hate that idea. Do you know what I mean? I really don't hate it. I actually kind of like that idea, because I do feel like it would bring about a real big shock as well. So I do feel like it would bring about that real big shock, but I do think it would just be good for the title as well, especially when you have somebody who's as over as Cody Rhodes is, to have a much shorter title reign. So I don't hate that idea, and if I was kind of like fantasy booking, if this was like taking my predictions off the table and just kind of was able to just fantasy book and just talk to you strictly about what I want to happen here. That's what I want to happen. I want to see actually the title change for Drew McIntyre. I think that you could also maybe have Randy Orton return here, which is another potential. And honestly, if I'm going to go for my predictions, I think this is kind of where I'm probably most going to land. I do envision where Randy Orton returns, and this just ends up costing Drew McIntyre the title, and we can just have. I do kind of like feel that is one of them. So I'm going to basically predict that we have a Randy Orton return and we have Cody Rhodes retaining. But I would actually really like to be wrong about this one. I'll be honest. So so yeah, and now we get into the real difficult one, which is where we get to crowning our new champion, or do we? Because obviously there are a lot of other potential shenanigans that could happen. There's been no DQ stipulation added to this match. So feasibly, there could be all sorts of interferences that could just throw this match out, and we could just be. I mean, and I'm kind of like hoping and praying that that doesn't happen, because I do just feel that would be WWE shooting themselves in the foot, because I don't think I think that would just kind of suck the air out, and it would just kind of like end this on kind of like a bit of a bum note with the fans if they've kind of gone into this feeling like there's going to be this big consequential thing, and then it just doesn't happen. I don't think that would be a good idea. So I do feel like we've got to have a winner here. There's been this talk about maybe a new member revision, and I think that kind of like totally works. I've been saying this before they turned on Seth Rollins in light of his injury. I do feel like the vision, if in keeping with kind of the dominance they want to that they're talking about, it does feel like it needs to expand. It needs to kind of go and expand kind of NWO kind of style. So I feel like a new member popping up isn't out of the realms of possibility because of a Paul Heyman connection. So people are speculating that's going to be Brock Lesnar. Again, that's something else that's on the table. Personally, I don't see that actually happening. And the reason why I don't see that happening is because I just don't see Brock Lesnar and Bron Breakker coexisted in a faction, and I don't feel like it would be maybe a leadership type. There would be this kind of like leadership contest. I don't think that it would be. I think maybe because of a scheduling conflict, so you would still have like Bron Breakker as kind of a new leader of that. So you'd have Bron. Have Brock Lesnar playing kind of second fiddle, which I can't quite envision either. And obviously if he's going to be in the faction, you kind of like need to make Brock Lesnar kind of like a bit of a full-time as well, which you kind of, again, I don't so see. I do see a world where actually I would much rather see Bron Breakker and Brock Lesnar face off against each other farther down the line, and I think you could easily get there quite simply, because you kind of could run with this narrative where basically they just end up starting to find Paul Heyman as kind of like a hindrance. They start to get frustrated by this, so they just end up screwing Paul Heyman over. Well, as well, and then this just ends up being then we could have Brock Lesnar come out and make a save, and then we could just do Brock Lesnar against Braun Breaker, and there's obviously plenty of big PLEs coming up with Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, where you could, all of the PLEs that are kind of like worthy of a big bash like that. So yeah, that would be kind of like my ideal. But yeah, I mean, we could easily have I do feel the Vision are going to play a part somewhere, though. I do feel like they could play a part somewhere. And yeah, just because I'm bold, I'm gonna say this. I guess it's going to be totally, and I'm not going to say this with any confidence whatsoever, but we are going to be bold here, so why not? Because anyone can just make really nice, safe predictions. So I'm going to make a really bold one, and I'm going to say we are going to see a new member of the Vision, and we were going to see Obafemi. Obafemi is going to be the new member of the Vision, because why the fuck not? I mean, and that would just be absolutely monstrous, wouldn't it, to have Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and Obafemi all in one kind of like fraction. But it would very much tie in with a kind of like the NWO kind of WWE dominance, the Vision are kind of going with. So I just yeah. So why the flub knob? Why not? So yeah, absolutely. So but then yeah, we kind of like I'm kind of like stalling by talking as well about, because I guess like it would, I mean, following what I've kind of like said through, if a Vision get involved, that would kind of like mean it would probably be more likely that they would target CM Punk, so I would kind of give the edge to Jey Uso picking up a win, wouldn't it? And I honestly feel like this is one I could envision just going back and forth on every single day. Um, um, what do I? Oh, what do I? Right here, right now, I am going to go. Despite what I said, I because of there's not the DQ stipulation, and I think you kind of need to kind of find a way of getting around that. I do think that there's going to be distractions here. I don't think that the match is going to get thrown out. Right here, right now, I am going to say that CM Punk is picking up a win here, and then the Vision kind of come out, or you have those big shocks, or you have a new member of the Vision being introduced after that. I kind of like could see that. Um, so so yeah, right now, here right now, and I'll probably feel differently about it tomorrow, and I would change it back again the day after, and like I said, but right here, right now, I have to pick one, and I'm just going to go with my gut instinct. I'm just going to say CM Punk is going to win the title here, and yeah, like I said, I can't really make a really strong argument, like I said, because I do feel like, well, I can make a strong argument, but I can't create an argument for why that would necessarily be the case over Jey Uso, because I think this is why it's so difficult to call, because you could make a strong argument for both Jey Uso and CM Punk winning here. I think you could have you could make the argument with Jey Uso, with him being this kind of like starting with this story of him kind of just being a lot more self-centered, a bit more kind of tribal chief-ish, to kind of like win that title. But also, I think so I think you could absolutely make an argument for putting the title on Jey Uso, and I just feel like that would then give him enough of an edge that would make this second title reign of his different to the first, so it would still feel kind of fresh because it would feel like a different Jey Uso that we're dealing with. But also I feel like there would be a certain poetic justice because CM Punk had won the title before, and then Seth Rollins came out and cashed in and won it, and now I think there maybe could be like a certain poetic justice now, that now CM Punk wins it and there's just nothing Seth Rollins can do about it. I think there would be a certain poetic justice there. So yeah, I'm just going to say here and now, CM Punk is going to be our new champion. And yeah, that pretty much concludes our video. So yes, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Like I said, if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe, because while this is just a new fresh channel, we will be uploading a regular wrestling content, because like I said, the wrestling calendar just kind of like allows for that. Yeah, let me know down in the comment section about what your predictions are, what your aspirations are for this. Let's kind of like really nerd out on this, really kind of start to theorize about what could happen, because yeah, I'm really interested to hear what you guys are thinking as well about what could go down on this Saturday night. So yeah, like I said, thank you again guys for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video.